It is 7:03 on June 13th. This is a meeting of the Town of Wenham Planning Board. As a convenience to the public, this meeting will be electronically available via a Zoom link. The meeting is being recorded. We have 4 members present. I am Dan Pasquarello, the vice chair. Peter Clay, David Anderson, Rick Woodland are here, and we expect Chair Weeks to join us shortly. We only have administrative matters on the agenda tonight. The first is a request for a bond release from Wenham Pines. Wenham Pines has asked us to continue that discussion until the next meeting. So we don't need a vote to continue it, but the developer is still working on their response to our peer review, and our next meeting date will be July 11th. So that item is taken care of. I'm going to take these matters out of order because we're waiting for Ann to join us. So I recommend that we take up the meeting minutes from May 9th and June 5th next.
Can we put them up?
Yep. So this is from May 9th. I've gone through these in redlined, I believe, with minor revisions. Go to the next page. So if everybody's okay with these, I'll take a motion to approve these minutes as amended.
April 17th.
No,
May 9th.
May 9th.
I wasn't present.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of May 9th of the planning board as edited by Mr. Pasquarello.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
All right.
Anderson, I.
Pasquarello, aye. Assume you're abstaining, Peter.
Okay. Oh, come on, Peter. Trust you. That's what happened, man. One down.
Okay, and now we have minutes from June 5th as edited. I also redlined these. I saw there were 2 red lines. One came in from Margaret at some point as well. But let's go to the June 5 red line if we can find it.
I don't have that one.
Okay, that's fine. Do you have mine?
Did you know if you emailed it to me too?
I don't think I emailed it. I emailed it to Catherine and Margaret.
Okay.
Do you want me to send it to you?
Yes, could you do that, Catherine?
Yeah, I'll send that momentarily.
Do we have anybody in the Zoom besides Catherine? Just curious.
No.
Okay.
While we're waiting, if we have other matters, I do have other matters, which
Okay.
is good stuff. So nothing crazy. Just update.
Way to tease us, Rick.
Good job. Generous in nature. Continued on page 999.
No, I'm refreshed.
There you go. There you go.
Just gonna up on the screen. So Catherine can see.
Did you get them, Kate?
I did, thank you.
Okay.
It's left side. There you go.
No. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, that's
sorry.
That's it?
Yep, that's it.
Oh, okay,
That's
great.
it. So there weren't many edits, but there should be little lines in the margin. There you go.
Alrighty.
So I changed this from 78 to 73 because that's our minimum requirement within the half mile. I'm not sure if Margaret changed it back to 78. I'm not sure why 78 is in there at all. So that's why I have it at 73.
Yeah, the audio wasn't great, Dan, so I could have been mistaken by what was said.
No, I think Margaret changed my 73 back to
Oh,
78. I don't know why she's using 78, but I don't think 78 is correct.
20% of 365 is 73.
Right. So I think we should go with 73.
I'll go with that.
Then Catherine, did you get Margaret's email from this
I
afternoon
did.
with other edits? There was one
I
or
thought
two.
she edited off of yours. No?
No, she didn't. She sent it. I think she edited off your original. So we might want to look at that as well. But let's go to page 2 here.
Did you review her edits?
I did. So that's where the 73, 78 issue came in that
Okay.
I mentioned. But you might want to send those to Kate too, just so we can look at. Like I know she corrected Ernest's first name. It should be spelled E-R, not E-A-R.
Yeah, my auto changes that every time.
Okay.
Don't always catch it. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Um, let's see.
Hello, Ann.
So I'll find hers and send them to.
Yeah, if we keep, Kate, can you scroll down a little bit more? And then that's it for our edits. So I would now work from this one and we'll take a look at what Margaret's work.
It's two.
And we went out of order to go to the minutes.
Thank you.
We handled the continuance for
Sorry.
the problem, Wenham Pines.
I don't have her minutes specifically
Oh,
identified as being drafted, being edited.
okay. Is it that? Kate, did she copy you? No, it's not it. Okay, they were minor, so I mean, we can.
Let me just do a search real fast. Oh, not from today.
No, okay. So do we have a motion to approve as edited?
So moved.
Is your second?
Second,
All those in favor?
Woodland, aye.
Discussion, but I'll say aye.
Pascarello, aye.
Anderson, yes.
Weeks aye.
Okay, with that, I will yield
Yield the
the chair back to Chair Weeks.
Okay. Opened it. So Wenham Pines request for bond release is the first item on the administrative agenda.
That's done.
That's done. Okay, so you did that.
We did that one,
Oh,
and then we
okay.
skipped the minutes.
Oh, great. And then the master plan, we need to vote to adopt the master plan.
So,
Is there a presentation of some kind, or do we just want to have a quick discussion before we do that?
I would like to have a quick discussion. I went through the 126 slides of the action plan and the master plan.
Mhm.
And overall, I think it's an excellent piece of work. There were a few items that jumped out. I made a few notes
Okay.
that I think we want to discuss whether we want to slightly edit a few things. In one of these, I have a question on it. Dave, you might be able to fill us in on some of these, but if we go to, you can either go to the master plan or the action plan, Kate. It might be easier to go to the master plan because it's, go through that. The first question I had was in core theme 2, goal 4. So we're gonna have to scroll down. That will work too.
All right.
It's just there's more screens, so
22,
yeah, it's
goal 4.
core theme 2, goal 4.
Okay.
I think we're in goal 1. I mean theme 1. There we go. Okay, so goal 4.20.
Oh, net
That's
zero.
one.
Carbon emissions. Ah,
Yes, so my question on this is, consider establishing a community choice aggregation program if instituted by the state to lower barriers to renewable energy sources in private residence and require at least 50% renewable energy sources. My only question was the last clause where it says
and
require, because we're talking about private residences. So Dave,
Right.
do you recall what this was?
Well, I would just say that everything that we did along these lines, or that was done, I should say, was qualified by the consider. So
consider requiring.
consider requiring. Maybe it should be requiring, but it's, well, 2 lower barriers and 2 require at least 50% energy sources. My vague recollection is that we were only talking about municipal things. We weren't talking about private residents.
Yeah.
Like
Buildings.
the planning board's not even on there, like. So it can never be us. I mean, I don't think that was the intention.
And I'm not sure what the community choice aggregation program was specifically. The only thing that jumped out at me is if we're gonna put in a master planning document a phrase that suggests that we're gonna require private residences to hit the threshold,
which
we may
it
not
does
want that.
suggest that. As it's written, I didn't.
I mean, I'm fine with that up until the private residences, period. But I didn't know if this 50% was part of that program or what the deal was.
No, I think the program is communities can join together to purchase or to collectively
Yeah,
switch over to renewable energy sources. And
I'm remembering now, the require at least 50% modifies community choice aggregation program.
Right.
Because I think like, doesn't Peabody have that, or somebody has that around here? And basically, it's like a local utility option.
Right.
And you can have that option required to have 50%
It's
renewable energy sources.
It's really written that it calls out a specific program, which there might be a different program in a couple of years. But that part is not as problematic for me as this potentially reading as though we're gonna require 50% renewable energy sources for private homes, because I don't think we, A, have the authority to do that, and B, I don't know that half the private homes in Wenham could actually install renewable energy sources.
No,
No,
it's saying that it's gonna, that we would consider requiring a community choice aggregation program. That power is powered by 50% renewable.
Oh.
Yeah. 50% of the power that comes to.
Oh, so it's not
program.
that the 50% is for municipal buildings, it's that the aggregation program would be focused on a collection of sources that
Yeah,
among them, which 50% would be renewable.
all of the stuff after 2, lower barriers and require, is just modifying the program. Or is expressing the purpose of the program as pertains to what.
So I think that the larger goal here is achieved by including everything up to the word residences. And that
Lower
the
barriers
last
to
clause-
renewable energy sources, period.
You can take that up with Super Troll if you want.
To lower barriers to renewable energy sources in private residences. So I would move that we just put a period after the word residences and strike the rest of that strategy.
Or what about at least 50% of the power from renewable energy sources. Like, there's a way to modify 50%.
Well, you would move that
that clear.
clause, you would move that clause up to community choice aggregation program. So consider establishing a community choice aggregation program, which
In which-
includes or under which 50% of the sources are renewable. I don't know if reinstituted by the state. It's like this defunct program could be good.
It actually just was reinstituted by the
Was
state.
it?
Yeah.
So maybe dash that too. Consider establishing a community choice aggregation program under which at least 50% of the energy sources are renewable to lower barriers to renewable energy in Wenham, period.
Very good.
Get rid of the private residences because it doesn't have to be just private residences, does it?
Because the program only counts for private residences, I don't know.
Well, so the narrative suggests that it is for private residences. It says residents can opt out.
My phone, can I Google it?
I just, my concern is with the word require.
Yeah.
And the poor phrasing of this.
Right.
That it's gonna lead to, it's confusing us, so.
I do think though that the point of this goal is to increase renewable energy sources available to town residents. So require is an unfortunate choice of a word, but I do think that this is part and parcel of the goal, that
Okay.
it would have at least
What
50%.
is a CCA? Allows local governments to procure power on behalf of residents, businesses, and municipal accounts from an alternative supplier while still receiving transmission and distribution from the existing utility provider. So it's not limited to private residences. CCAs are an attractive option for communities that want more local control over electricity sources, more green power than is offered by the default utility, and or lower electricity prices. Blah, 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 blah. CCAs are currently authorized in California, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Rhode Island, and Virginia. That's from the EPA website. So it's not limited to private residences. And it is a utility, it's an aggregation program that the town could opt into. And I think the point is that it's only worth doing maybe half of the sources in the aggregate thing, or
So I think there's two ways to do this then. I think you can strike the word in private residences and leave and require at least 50% renewable energy sources. Or you can strike after private residences the whole and require at least 50% renewable energy sources. Either would be acceptable, but I think the combination creates the confusion.
In private residences, as Ann described, the program doesn't apply. I mean, it's anybody, so it's,
Right.
it's not singling out private residences.
Right.
So get rid of it.
Yeah, so I would.
And get rid of the reestablish or.
Yeah, so what if?
and
you
it looks
struck-
like, just to clarify a little bit, it looks like different states have different ways of doing it, but in Massachusetts, you can go up to 100% green power as, in other words, when you opt in, you have to say how much green power you want.
It's a law.
This is like 50%.
And if you're two ways to do it,
Lowell has 100%.
I would just try to do private residences.
Okay.
What about, a community choice aggregation program, comma,
Requiring at
With-
least 50%.
with at least 50% renewable energy sources.
Right.
Comma, to lower barriers to renewable energy sources in private residents.
Right.
period.
Or just in anything,
In anything, skip the private residences.
because it's not
Okay.
limited to private.
Because the program
Okay.
doesn't limit.
I understand, but like, that's the emphasis here, I think. That was the emphasis of the scope. We can disregard it, or I could be wrong, I just think this was there was some motivation here
intention
to
there,
get it
yeah.
out into the private residents.
But we say a community-wide net zero, so community-wide is anything in the community. So it doesn't limit it at the top of the goal, but we're limiting it in the strategy. To private residents. People say only private residents. So that's kind
That's
of in
true.
conflict.
It is a community-wide, it's applied there, so yeah. I'm okay with any of it.
Yeah, let's get rid of the.
But I think the narrative is good. Residents can opt out of this program.
Yes,
Yeah, that part's fine. So, all right, so it sounds like either way, we're gonna strike the words in private residences from the strategy. Is that correct?
let's read it again. So
Consider,
establishing
I'm writing it
community-
down. A
So
community
Dave,
choice.
what if you did this? Consider establishing a community choice aggregation program requiring at least 50% renewable energy sources.
That's enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of it is, because I don't think
And then just
the
strike
rest of
everything.
it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Okay, I'm just
I'm-
writing it down.
You're good with that?
Yeah,
I'll read it back. Consider establishing a community choice aggregation program requiring at least 50% renewable energy sources, period, and then leave the strategy narrative as it is.
Very good.
And then strike the rest of the.
You're replacing that strategy with what Ann just read.
Right. Catherine, do you want me to read it more slowly?
And I wasn't gonna put that in the minutes. Do you want me to?
We're gonna have to amend the plans. So Catherine's not gonna do that.
No, she's not gonna.
I'm not actually making notes of your edits.
I don't know if she needs to put our specific change.
If you don't, if there's nobody here who feels compelled to make sure that we put all of the edits into the
I
minutes,
say we keep a master ledger right here.
right here at the.
Okay,
I think we
chair.
should, just in case it ever comes back in town history, who made that terrible change, that they know who to turn the gun to.
Right,
That's the worst thing, right?
so we'll let you
Okay,
Oh,
make the
so-
motion.
so
Do we need to make a motion, or we can just say?
We
it?
need to,
I
I think
think we
we need to
just-
make a motion
I
to
think-
amend the,
I think we,
No, no, no.
We'll
we
say it at
haven't
the end.
adopted it yet, so we can't, we don't need to make a motion.
We're sending this back for
This is
revision.
Oh, okay,
before-
fine.
This is
That's fine.
before we adopt it.
got it, all right.
Okay, so
What
the
else?
language is in core theme 2, goal 4,
Strategy 2-0.
strategy 2-0 or 2-0. 2-0. Instead of what's there, replace that whole little paragraph with the following. Consider establishing a community choice aggregation program requiring at least 50% renewable energy sources.
so
Okay, moving on. Yeah,
Okay.
you have another one.
I have another
So
one.
glad you did this, detail.
It was so fun going through these.
Yeah.
So the next is, and this is gonna be the most I have 4 of these. Forewarning, this will be the most controversial of 4.
Okay,
well, then why don't we do the other ones?
No, because we wanna do this.
no, but let's do this first.
Core
because get
theme
it out of the way.
3, goal 2, strategy 3D.
Okay, goal 2, 3D. Craft a zoning overlay district that is appropriate in scale and location for Wenham. It complies with multifamily zoning requirements for MBTA communities. Oh.
Do you see what the controversy on this one might be?
Mhm.
Oh, so I mean, I know this was a 2-year process and we didn't foresee how controversial this was gonna become. But based on the forum that we had last week and how I think we all expect this process to play out, I think we wanna be careful not to make the master plan a controversial document that might be seen as baking in a result.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that based on our previous discussion, we are all in favor as a strategy of creating multifamily overlay district. But
That
The-
responds to the state mandate.
well, I think at this point that we should just drop the end, which says and complies with the requirements for MBTA communities. And just say craft a multifamily zoning overlay district that is appropriate in scale and location for Wenham, period.
Period.
That's fine.
That's fine.
That's perfect.
Right.
Okay.
Let's not conflate the two.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. I agreed with that.
So
Agree.
That-
Potential
that was the
non-local
most-
funding source, communities technical assistance program down the bottom.
Um,
It's not,
I didn't pay attention to that part of it.
yeah, well, it's not a non-local, it's not a funding source unless it's an MBTA community's response thing.
Well, let's just take that out and with response to them.
Oh,
saying,
oh,
put
sorry.
Something else in there.
Sorry.
There might be another program that fit that.
There's one other edit here. In the strategy narrative. Striking the last and avoid non-compliance penalties.
Yeah,
So you just put a period after members.
yes.
So,
Okay,
so a lot
so-
of what we did throughout this document is that we were very, we avoided quite a bit of directives. Hold on, so we might want to change it even to consider crafting.
Yes.
That's fine.
Soften it.
Consider crafting a zoning,
A
a
multifamily.
multifamily
That would follow other language and other sections.
Yeah,
David?
yeah,
zoning
and,
overlay district
yeah, that's what we did throughout
that
this.
is appropriate
Scale and location.
in scale and location.
Or one period.
for Wenham, which arguably the proposal we have in front of us is. And then
And then-
drop potential non-local funding source.
I would make a recommendation back to MPAC to see if they could find other, but that needs to be.
I think
Yeah.
impact is done.
As scattered.
Oh, they're done.
Dust in.
Okay, so
Just,
just drop
we
it.
have
Yeah,
to do that.
okay.
In the narrative, we need to drop. It needs to end after community members, so it drops and avoid non-compliance penalties.
Okay, hold on, strategy is this. Narrative. Multifamily overlay district would permit the development of greater diversity of housing types in Wenham, which would help the town meet the housing needs of more community members, period.
Period.
Okay.
You wanted to drop the.
The potential non-local funding source down the bottom, which directly references the MBTA communities.
Yes.
District.
What is the TA, the 3A?
Technical assistant,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
3ATA. Star Wars creature.
Okay, so we all good with that?
Greater, hold on, because I gotta read it back
Oh,
to
no.
city of housing types in Wenham. Which will help meet, help that town,
The housing needs
housing need.
of more community members, period.
Okay. I can do this. Be able to. Catherine, this one is goal 2. Wait a minute. Goal 2 under
3.
3, goal 2, strategy 3D should be consider crafting a multifamily zoning overlay district that is appropriate in scale and location for Wenham, period. And the strategy narrative would be amended to read, a multifamily overlay district would permit the development of a greater diversity of housing types in Wenham, comma, which will help the town meet the housing needs of more community members, period. Get that? There's also a need to change the potential non-local funding source,
Just strike it.
striking the one referencing the MBTA Communities Technical Assistance Program.
You probably just
Yep,
strike.
I'm following you.
Awesome.
Okay, next.
Okay, next, Dan, I'm grateful for.
Theme 4, goal 2. Strategy 4I. This one's about water. So this says, consider updating town policies regulating water usage to curb high water usage, particularly from residential water users through fee increases and imposing use fees on new and existing users. So my question is, don't we already impose use fees on everybody?
We definitely have usage fees.
Yes.
And then the question is, if you're in violation of the water ban, I think after, like, there's like a 3 strikes and you get fined.
I'm doing a little research on this for another matter. Yeah, there is something like there's no enforcement agent listed in this policy.
Right.
And I looked at Topsfield, which is very similar to us on the same aquifer, and they recommend yearly registration of your system and inspection, outdoor water turnoffs. So there's gonna be a lot in this area, particularly around irrigation systems, that's gonna be modified. So I don't know how bad that is, because I don't know how wrong that is. But I think we have a lot of work to do here.
Mm.
Yeah, I just
And
think
it's
this one's consider is fine. I mean, I just think this one's gonna get attention because it's talking about imposing fees on existing users as well as new users for in a system where we already do that.
I don't know, and this is a question, I guess, for Ernest, and those guys. Do we have a block fee or is it a flat fee?
Flat fee.
Because a block fee might be what that's referring to.
What do you mean by block?
So in other words, there's an average amount that the average family of 4, say, uses, right? And that's this amount, right? If you use this amount times 2, you pay more for that second part.
You do in Wenham.
Yeah, the way that
You do in
You
Wenham.
do, there is a block fee.
You do pay more per gallon the more you use.
no, there's an entry block, like
Right.
up to 5,000 gallons, I
Right.
think it is.
And then you pay more
And then you pay, yeah, you pay more
after
per
that.
1,000 gallon after that. I think it
I think
is.
that's
I
right.
think after
Yeah.
10,000, it gets even more.
Yeah, there's like, it's
So
gradual.
levels,
that's-
it does go up.
That's
There's a
good.
There's a contingent of people in this town who are upset that after the second block, it is not as hot.
Correct.
And so there's a disincentive as you use more water or proportionally, you pay less the higher you go, which seems incredibly inverse to what we would want in this town.
Trying to get it to do.
And I think that
Well, you're not paying, you mean the rate decreases?
It doesn't go up sharply enough, basically.
well, it's basically. It's like a double hockey stick.
It goes like this.
Yeah.
It doesn't go like this.
Can we pull this up?
Oh, it's a
gotta
double,
be on.
it's a
Yeah, it is.
double
It's a
hockey
water
stick
bill.
like that, but the problem is this slope is too low, is what I understand you to be saying.
Yes.
The second hockey stick is too shallow.
I think. What this is saying is that we need to reconsider the fee structure for conservation purposes.
Right.
Consider.
And maybe that's a clearer way to say it.
It does say consider.
It
does,
does,
yeah.
it's just,
It's-
there we go. Water rates, charges and fees. Okay. No, that seems to be,
doubles at over 75,000.
So like, why wouldn't it be 980? Why wouldn't it, I mean,
That 18.
this structure suggests that
why wouldn't 490 be 480?
480. Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it's 240, right?
Well, that,
240.
then look at doubling 490.
Oh, I see, so that's the complaint, it's not.
Well,
It's
I'm
not
graduated in.
It's not linear.
I mean, why wouldn't we start charging at 30,000 gallons? Why wouldn't we start charging $15 per thousand gallons? Who needs 30,000 gallons of water in this town with an endangered river?
The house on the corner of Cherry and Williamsburg.
Well, there we go. Not to get specific. I
With
mean,
the pool.
seriously.
No, with the sprinkles that are on every morning when I walk my dog.
Okay.
So that strategy is very specific in its language.
consider.
No, I mean, what follows the.
Yeah, maybe it's just, you had language before, consider revisiting the block grade structure and the. For water usage to more. To promote conservation.
I'm not saying we can't soften this, but I don't think this one was casually off. I think this was very specific and there was community input driving this. Now, I'm not saying we have to go along with it,
Okay.
but
fair,
this
fair.
wasn't just a casual thing. There's a contingent of people in this town. I think is represented on impact who feel strongly about what's on the screen.
I'm just
And
wondering though, because it says sets a flat fee per unit. So that's not what we have, what we want is a graduated fee, not a flat fee.
Well, I mean, why don't we just say something general, like consider updating town policies regulating water usage to curb high water usage.
So,
Period.
Yeah,
But it's not
that's
just
grad.
regulating water usage, it's also the fee structure that they're paying. Reevaluating the fee structure. So I think if you just cut it off at regulating water usage, you take out half the meaning of what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and there's a way we can do that. It's we can just put the.
Consider updating town policies regulating water usage and fees.
It's high water usage.
Yeah,
It keeps
water
coming up
usage.
that word.
Water usage and fees to curb
Well,
high water
that
usage.
before I doesn't say high water usage, it just says regulating water usage.
Regulating to curb high water usage.
Right, but I didn't even get that far.
Oh.
Consider updating town policies regulating water usage and fees to curb high water usage.
Yeah.
Period.
That's what I'm suggesting. And then put the period after high water usage.
Yeah.
Because Dave, I just want to say, I know that was a concern and I know that was talked about passionately in some of these meetings. There is another contingent in town or even out of town where people don't consider moving to Wenham because of the restrictions on water usage. Okay,
Yeah, but we don't have
That's
the water.
precisely the issue here.
Are we having a problem
If-
selling homes?
I
mean, we're not having a problem selling homes.
Well, no, that's a
but-
different issue. I'm just saying that there's more than one contingent in town on these issues.
We didn't hear
Well,
from him in the impact.
Economics is like this, no supply, high price. Right, we have no supply, so price is gonna go up unless we wanna limit our ability to do more development.
That wasn't the point I was trying to make.
You're trying to make the
I
point
think
that
you,
that the water rates are already too high.
no,
People are-
I'm not saying that. It's not the rates. It's the restrictions.
yeah, relationship.
Yeah, I mean,
But
there are people who won't purchase property because of the,
But the
irrigation
restrictions are also in place in Ipswich,
Yeah,
Topsfield,
anywhere.
anywhere that's in that.
River Valley.
that's not necessarily true. I don't think
There's-
Beverly has.
But they're not-
restrictions.
Beverly isn't
They're
in.
different.
They water their
They're-
sidewalks.
Correct.
They totally do,
There are
and they
totally
should
different
be, they should
And that's why we're
definitely
trying to
be.
get them off if it's river water.
I understand. I think your edit accomplishes the goal, I mean, the strategy here without getting into, sort of a specific threat to individual residential users that we're gonna increase their fees.
Well,
Okay,
no, so I feel pretty strong on this one, because if people are upset and they have a single family home. And they're upset about water restrictions. And they're within the first two tiers. They should get behind this and say, well, this is terrific. Because it's the people who are up at 30, 40,000, 50,000 gallons of water. Who are the ones that are taking the water that are causing the water restriction bans. Because the water commission needs to have something behind them if they want to do this, if they're just considering it. But they have to be able to point to 4I and say, the master plan contemplates fee increases for high water usage.
so
That
There's-
gives them the strength to be able to pull this off.
two separate things going on here. One is the water restrictions, which
Yep.
are governed by a compact that deals with who takes from the Ipswich River watershed and what the requirements are based on a lawsuit from the million years ago.
Yeah, we just get a number,
Right, and we
Right.
can't fix that.
right?
So that's one issue. The other issue is, could you control or not control, but could you affect how much water people use by more accurately pricing it? That's the
Yeah.
other piece of this.
Well, there are two pieces of this because the policies need to be updated. I can give
Well,
you
the
specific.
enforcement
I
definitely
can give you a specific example, but yeah, so I have no problem. Consider updating town policies, regulating water usage, and if you want to say end fees and consider imposing higher fee or, well, I don't know.
I just say,
And fees.
just consider
And fees.
updating and fees to curb
To
high
curb high water
water
usage.
usage here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
period.
that's fine. So, Dave, one of the I mentioned this to Ernest during the MPAC process. So, and there was a flyer that came out with the last water bill that talks about sprinkler restrictions. And it states that we have mandatory sprinkler restrictions between the hours of 9 and 5 between certain dates. That's not technically correct is the way the bylaw reads now. If we're in a drought situation, that's correct. But there's a process or a procedure for them to go through before that kicks in.
Yeah.
And though, if that's the position we're gonna take as a town, then we need to clean that up.
Well, yeah, and I mean, there's
Well,
also
that's the
further
policy change,
Yes, right, that's right.
There's further lack of clarity because consider Hamilton, which I understand is in a much worse situation. They actually have an outdoor watering ban. Two summers ago, we had an outdoor watering ban.
I know.
We
Right.
do not have one, and we did not have one last year, but we had a sprinkler restriction to protect against an overdraw, which are two different things that are poorly communicated.
Or they have, yeah, they have timed watering thing, where
Right.
you can only water from like
No,
5 at night till 8 in the
we
morning.
didn't have that last summer. We had that 2 summers ago,
Right, but that's
because
it's not
we're
a total ban.
because we were in a real issue.
Right.
Yeah.
But it
No,
wasn't
no,
a
it wasn't
ban,
a total
it
ban.
was a
Well,
like a
so
hand
then,
watering
but
only, right?
Hamilton, I mean, they are straight up they have an outdoor watering ban subject to certain exceptions because they draw so much more, is my understanding. I will just say that Ernst was on impact.
Mhm.
Phil was on impact.
Yeah.
Sue was on impact. All of us contributed some measure to impact, and this came through.
Right.
I mean,
And
I
water
would
is a
almost.
huge issue every time we talk about anything, so.
I am of the position this should stay, and I would just say if we could have a vote on it, I would be grateful because. This was the sense of impact in the community. There wasn't another point of community participation that was other than this, and I'm happy to qualify to consider. It's at the discretion of the Water Commission. They get to decide, and the other boards, and Public Works, and Select Board, and Finance. We're not saying anyone has to do this, but I want to give them the full strength of this document
So you
to
don't,
go down this path.
so you prefer not to shorten the sentence, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Can I make a suggestion to the shorter sentence? See if this addresses your concern, Dave? Because I think it reads better as a shorter sentence, but to say, consider updating town policies regarding water usage and imposition of fees to curb high water usage, period. Because
It's clearer.
it's clear, I think it accomplishes what you want to accomplish. And I don't know what the language, particularly from residential water users, is supposed to convey, since
It's the
that's
whole town is
99% of the
Well,
town.
it's not the golf courses or the golf course.
Or the agriculture.
So it's estate lawns that are sprinkling their lawns whenever they damn well please. We just don't have that luxury as a town and as a river anymore to do that.
And I think if we look at also if getting to the bylaws, you can mandate, and towns around us have done it, that these systems have water sensing systems attached to it, that tell you how much water should be on your lawn based on how much rain we've had. We don't mandate any of that. So there are a lot of other things we can put into these new bylaws that bring up our technology codes around sprinklers. So
Yeah.
I think this is gonna be good. And I'm gonna go up a level. It's okay that we have controversial things in this document. That's a good thing. Because I believe if the text is wrong and it doesn't express what it's supposed to express. But I think there should be a few bumps to make people like think, oh, yeah, I gotta talk about this.
Well, we can put a bump in, but we don't want to put something ambiguous or confusing in. I mean, I'd rather have a
Right,
clear
but I don't wanna
sentence
tone it
that-
down.
No, I'm not
Urgency is
saying,
there.
I'm not saying toning it down, I'm saying what if you change the word high to excessive?
Who makes that determination? on
I
high or-
think that's tinkering too much with what they were doing. I mean, high and excessive are both qualitative and analysis that the water department and Department of Public Works get to figure out what that is.
No, I know, I'm just trying to look at this from the perspective of a
What's
residential
excessive
water
versus-
user, right? Like,
Well, what's excessive though?
well, I thought that was a good point about, that Dave just made about estates and overly irrigating and things like that. I mean, technically, yes, that's a residential use and it's a good point. It's not a golf course, right?
Well, suppose you had a
Or-
small home and you use twice as much or 4 times or 6 times as much as your neighbor next door. Is that excessive?
Well, is it high? I mean, it's the same thing. It's just, what, do we want to use high or excessive?
Well, high is a lower threshold. In my view, if I'm thinking about standards. High water
Okay.
use is less intense than excessive. Excessive is like,
Does,
I have a golf course in my.
does excessive give you, is it a broader term, like more wiggle room? High is like high. You know what I mean?
High is broader, because
Yeah.
high includes excessive.
Correct.
Excessive does not include all of high.
And Dan, I think this is a very prescriptive goal or strategy. So I'm being a little bit of a stick in the mud, but your point is well taken. This is an extremely prescriptive thing. If somebody read it and is currently enjoying high or excessive water use, this is going to give them pause. But I think that was the point here.
I was just confused by, if you look at the last part of this sentence where it says imposing use fees on new and existing users. I mean, we already impose use fees. So. And then, the particularly from residential, until I heard the distinction of. Well, I don't mean the golf course, I mean, right, the estates.
Or the-
Okay, I get it with some explanation.
I think that
Or
the
do we get
new
agriculture?
users,
Yeah,
the new users also is like
new development.
New
yeah,
development.
the subdivision.
Well, you've got that in the narrative.
Dan, can we go back to your language again? Did Ann write it down?
I was about to, and then you guys
Sorry.
started going on, so I thought I would wait to finish the dialogue and then ask for that language again. Consider updating town policies regulating
Water usage,
water usage
and imposition of fees.
and the imposition of fees.
No, just imposition of
Okay.
fees to curb high
To curb.
water
High.
usage.
Period.
Period.
I just as a matter of principle, I would keep it the way it is, and that's okay.
We
We
might
don't
need
have
to
to,
vote on this.
we always have consensus. It's stupid. We should sometimes disagree. We can take a vote on it, but my perspective would be. I understand the strategy and I think it's saying something specific and I would keep with what it is.
So we vote on it?
Yes, I'm gonna open this to a vote. Do you want to hear the language again before we vote? Either the language that's there or this alternative language for strategy 4I. Consider updating town policies regulating water usage, and I would say the imposition of fees to curb high water usage.
I knew,
Can we just read the strategy narrative that supports that?
This strategy recommends the town amend their current policies regulating water usage, which sets a flat fee for unified development type, to allow increases to the fee that account for various factors and more accurately reflect the burden on the town's water supply by new developments.
Because that strategy narrative makes it seem like it's talking about development and not about home users.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you want to say particularly from new developments? The end of the strategy? But I think that's
Was that the
limiting.
intention, or was the intention more about, you know, fees? The fees part is about everybody, everybody pays fees.
Yeah, because I think it's, if you say particularly from new developments, that's limiting it.
Right. So right now, if you build like one of the boulders, they're not individually metered, but they pay a flat fee by development type. So if you're a condo, you're one. If you're an apartment, you're another.
Probably.
Or if you're a 3-family subdivision, you're another. So we're not metering individual units or the.
That I don't know, I think.
That's what I got confused.
I
with
mean, I would
narrative,
think that everybody in the boulders would get a water bill, no?
because it's part of their condo fees, right? One water bill is part of their condo fees. I don't know.
I don't know. You know, the more I think about this, the more I think we should leave it alone, because we don't really know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And the people who worked on this include Ernest and Phil, and they do know.
Right.
All right, I'm gonna put this to a vote. Who would like to amend at least the strategy for I to shorten the sentence? To read as I can read it again if you want.
No. I don't think.
Okay, all in favor?
I'm in favor of the shorter sentence.
I'm persuaded to keep it as it is because of the people who worked on it, and
We don't have an expert in the room of the day.
So we have, find
I
expert.
think
It's
it's
from
a
California.
three to
It's
two.
in
No.
I think
Yeah.
it's
Woodward,
three to two
no.
vote. Let's just, do you have another one?
Yes. And I was wrong, that number 2 was the most controversial.
Oh, yes, I didn't even save it as best for last.
No, I didn't expect,
you mean that?
I didn't expect this one to be the most
The water
controversial.
one is always gonna be the most controversial.
Uh,
The most controversial
this one-
topic
this
rather
next
than
one.
taxes in this town.
My perspective is there should be no more development until on the North Shore until we figure out the water. 1.2 billion was voted by the, just so we know, 1.2 billion was voted by the House in this new bond bill to help North Shore communities connect to MWR.
Right.
So hopefully that will support
Yeah, you get somebody in the way.
Salem and Beverly. Getting off.
Okay, this one should be easy. Theme 5. Goal 3,
Need 5.
strategy 5J.
Partner with the towns of Hamilton and Ipswich to sponsor events that celebrate local history. Why is that a problem?
It's not a problem. I have a question. Why is it just Hamilton and Ipswich? Why not Beverly, Manchester, and Danvers as well?
I know.
Actually,
Or
I'm gonna
do
use
we border?
Partner with neighboring towns to sponsor events that celebrate our local history.
Works for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Catherine, did you get that one?
Yes, I did. We're going to take out Ipswich and partner with local communities.
I say
Partner with
neighboring towns.
neighboring towns to sponsor events that celebrate local history.
Well, we should say cities and towns because Beverly's.
Okay, with
Sorry.
neighboring
Communities.
There you go.
communities. Good. How
Okay.
many lawyers does it take to do this? To sponsor events that celebrate local history.
I mean, there's a lot of history in those other 3.
There
as
is,
well. So,
there is.
okay,
About those witch trials
that's Danvers.
and Beverly. And that's it. So how do we proceed then? Because we're not going to accept the master plan tonight. We're going to wait to see it amended.
I
Correct?
suppose we could vote on it as
As
amended.
As amended.
I think we could
Let's do that.
Okay,
Get it done.
all right. I have a motion to accept the master plan as amended?
And the action.
And the action plan, sorry, I forgot about the action plan.
Wait a
And
second.
Oh, yeah, Catherine, those edits
Are
appear in both plans.
But you're not making those changes, I think.
No, but just
Yeah,
the minutes should reflect.
Yeah,
Well, I'm sorry, what did you say? You,
So the edits that we just did appear in two documents. They're parallel documents. They just,
the master plan and the action.
and the action plan.
okay,
But you're not making them, staff is making them, but just for a
Correct.
minute.
yep.
Okay. I need a motion now.
I think the honor of making this motion should fall to Mr. Anderson.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure if, Sal wanted to say, you
Oh,
wanted.
Sal, I can see you joined. Would you like to identify yourself and tell us what item you're interested in?
No, I'm good. I just joined on and I'm just got here late, sorry.
That's okay. Can you just identify your full name and?
Salvatore Celeste, 20 Puritan Road.
Okay, thank you.
So I would move to adopt, the planning board adopt the master plan as amended.
And we have specific language.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry.
Yep,
Here you go, Dave.
it's already here, right there, you go.
But you gotta put as amended.
Yeah,
I would move to amend,
no,
move to
adopt
adopt the town of Wenham master plan
as a-
dated May 2024 as amended, and the Wenham master plan action plan dated May 2024 as amended according to section 81D of chapter 41 of Massachusetts general law, along with all maps and economic studies, and to submit the plan to the select board and then to the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Livable Communities.
Second. All in favor?
Anderson, I.
Weak side?
Astro, I.
Yes.
Okay.
Holy smoke.
Congratulations.
Man, that's done.
Same vote we had on that.
Done and done.
Done and done. The next item is the MBTA communities zoning
Before
overlay.
we do that,
Just thank
before we do
everybody.
that, I would like to thank Dave for
Oh,
all of the attendance
flowers for David.
he made to those MPAC meetings. I attended a few of those. They weren't easy sessions. And I
Yeah,
know,
went to a couple
we-
too. Not that
yes.
easy.
so thank you, Dave.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it, but we have to say thanks to Joanne Frischella, Deirdre Parati.
Yep.
Town staff, Kate and Margaret did a lot of work.
We did give flowers at the last meeting.
We
I
still
think
have
we got
ours
it.
upstairs.
Everybody got a plant.
Yes.
The whole MPAC.
The entire impact.
The
those
entire
who
impact.
Started, joined, finished, whatever your role was.
Could we maybe, this is, and to follow up on what you're saying, could we maybe get a
Some
list
sort
of all those people?
resolution?
Yeah, some kind of resolution to thank them and list all their names individually.
That might be a good item for the special town meeting.
Ooh,
Yes.
very good.
Yes, very good.
And the
Okay.
list, I think, is in the master.
In the
plan.
master plan, yes, yep.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No,
let him
I-
answer. That's
yeah,
great.
that was a
Honest-
really
Chris
great
asked
idea.
it. Chris asked.
Hold on. Okay.
And I'll note the peer list was dropped,
Extraordinary.
which just by the skin of our teeth.
Strenuous objection.
No.
MBTA communities discussion. Is there more discussion after last Wednesday?
Margaret just didn't know if you guys wanted to do a little recap. We had put together some questions and answers of things that we heard, but there's no need to go over it if you don't want to.
I mean, one of the things that I took away was the need to be super prepared, and two things, actually. One is the need to be super prepared. Once we've figured out what the zoning overlay looks like, with a presentation that really illustrates what we're doing. right? I think we were pretty prepared on Wednesday, and we don't have all of the detail yet to be more prepared than we were. But, you know, just to have every question that was posed to have an answer, because I do think there are always going to be folks who don't agree with what the perspective of this board is, and that's their right. But that, I think, just to have a clear, like, set of talking points, and for want of a better phrase, just with our responses, and that we have all agreed to in advance once we vote on the ordinance.
I would also echo Steve Poulos' comments
Was
about how well you then
Oh,
the issues. You saw it, no.
I did,
yeah,
yep,
yeah,
thank you.
I think one thing do we have who asked those questions in your text?
I have a list of people at home that
Because I think Sal might be here, because he
I think
was,
he
he
is.
was there speaking and asking questions, and I don't know if we have responses yet for Sal on the
I
questions he
haven't
brought
done
up.
any more with any of this.
Okay, I just want to make sure we addressed him, because I think that might be why he's here.
Right, well, we can ask him to for that,
Yeah, I can say that, one thing I have done a bit more of since the forum is I took a closer look at a few of the pleadings in the Rockport case.
and we had a letter too from a resident. About something.
We did, and that spurred me to take a look at the docket and check the status of that case. And I believe where that case is, there was just a hearing on a motion to dismiss that was argued, and the court has taken the motion to dismiss under advisement. The summary of that argument is that the plaintiffs in the case do not have standing, I believe, is the defendant's argument, because they're private citizens or groups of private citizens, and the impact of 3A would be on municipalities. So that's what the court has under advisement. There was also a motion to certify a class, and the court, I believe, is deferring decision on that until the motion to dismiss is decided, because if the motion to dismiss is granted, you don't have to decide the class action issue. So that's what the status of the Rockport case is.
And the motion to certify the letter we received notes that the Wenham residents who tried to intervene and were denied are still part of this motion to certify the class.
Correct. That's right. So.
but they're not Rockport citizens.
No,
It's
so
a
there-
class of people affected generally by that statute.
There are a number of groups. There's a group from Hamilton, there's a group from Wenham. It sounds like there's now a group from Danvers or Tewksbury, and there's a whole bunch.
So there's a lawsuit brought by, oh, that's
The
right,
residents against the town for
That's a-
adopting them.
that's a federal suit?
No,
it's
it's a state suit. It was initially brought. I haven't looked at the amended complaint. I saw the original complaint. I think it was 10 citizens of Rockport.
See, I
And
don't
then
see
there
how
were-
that can be outside of this. Lost it.
Back.
Sorry about that, people.
We lost everybody. We haven't said anything since you left. I forget where we were.
Can you hear us, Catherine, just to make sure?
Yes, we
Yes,
can
you-
hear you.
Great, thank you.
So I was just giving an update on what was going on in the Rockport litigation. Which is basically that a motion to dismiss has been argued, it's been taken under advisement. A motion for class certification was filed. the court has deferred ruling on that until it rules on the motion to dismiss, is my understanding. And Rick, you were just about to say something.
Is there
so-
anything regarding, I don't know how to raise my hand in this meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a little thing at the top that you have to just push that, the little hand at the top of the screen.
I don't have that on my screen. I just have a
Oh.
lead bar.
So if you could just identify yourself
For
before you
Catherine's
start your
benefit.
comment the first time.
Okay. Again, it's Salvatore Celeste, 20 Puritan Road. I found some documentation online that the town of Middleton has also rejected the plan. Is there any status update on what's going on over there?
Yeah, actually, you know what? Could you put the map up, Kate, of
Yeah. We have
sewer?
a map of
Yeah.
who's done what. There's a lot more that.
Dirty. Can
There
you
it
see
is.
that on your
Can you see
screen?
that,
I
Sal?
can. Yeah.
So the green ones are the adopted, they've taken action and adopted something. The yellow ones are, we're referring it for further study. And the red ones are denied.
Disapproved.
Or disapproved by the town meeting potentially. So that
So
was like
Middleton is,
Rowley, I don't see Middleton.
yep, number 6.
Approval. Oh, there it is. Yeah, down there. There's a list. I missed that. Rockport is adopted, as we know. Hard to read the town names on the map, so you have to go to the list.
Well, I guess the reason why I'm asking is I was going through some of the documentation associated with the state, and they were talking about, you know, what the consequences specifically are if the town does decide to not adopt or reject the MBTA community guidelines. And it seems that it's really only affecting really 3 funding sources, which we do not avail ourselves of. And we attended the meeting in Hamilton last night. And yes, and they only availed themselves of some $23,000 worth of state funding. And I can tell you that their position on this, as far as the community was concerned, is overwhelmingly negative. And the thing that kind of disturbed, well, the thing that disturbed me about the conversations that we had last night was that there's no coordination between Wenham and Hamilton is claiming that they tried to communicate with you folks, and they're not responding in a reciprocity kind of sense in this issue. And then at the other meeting, it was the opposite. And I'm wondering why you're not doing that.
Well, I think I probably need to call the chair of the planning board for one thing, and I can do that. That's on my to-do list. I trust the staff in Wenham with my oldest child, and if they tell me they have reached out to Hamilton to have a conversation about this, I'm confident that they have. So, I mean, I don't know what was said at the meeting. What did the planning board present last night?
Okay, that was the other thing. They presented verbatim exactly as it was presented by the planning board in Wenham. As a matter of fact, even the semantics were identical in the way it was presented, which basically said, you know, this is just a zoning exercise and we want to do this. This is just the first part of the compliance, blah, blah, blah. And what they went through the entire presentation, that so much so that it appeared to be, for the lack of any other word, canned, because and I'm sure there were other people that were at the meeting. There were several other people from Wenham that were there, and I don't know if they're online now or actually in the meeting hall.
We don't have any visitors except you, so.
Okay, so and what happened was it sounded so conceived, I guess we want to call it, that it really angered the community there. And let me tell you, unlike Wenham, they had a packed house. It was wall to wall. There were people standing. So, and it was overwhelmingly negative. And I have a sneaking suspicion that even though Wenham is sort of not, it doesn't appear to be as active, the sentiment seems to be growing. And they are really, really concerned. And it's the stick that they worry about. What I guess is really what's happening here is they couldn't give an answer again to what benefit this has to the existing people, the people in town,
Right,
okay,
so-
that were already here. And all they could give us was what the negative consequences were. And I don't think the consequences were quite accurate.
Mr. Celeste,
Yes.
I heard this conversation before. We've had this comment before. We're taking it into advisement.
No, this isn't a comment. I'm telling you what happened at the Hamilton
Right,
meeting.
I know that, but I don't, whatever the Hamilton Planning Board and town does is Hamilton's business. Yes, we need to coordinate. Yes, I'm gonna call the planning chair. But what Wenham does isn't necessarily gonna be based on what Hamilton does. And what Hamilton does is certainly not gonna be based on what Wenham does, because that's not how it works.
Well, that's where the sentiment, that's kind of where it went off the rails.
I appreciate you reporting on this, but I think we've heard this, the dialogue, the conversation, we've had this conversation with you, and we've had this conversation with others, and we need now to sit and take it under advisement. So I appreciate your attendance, and I appreciate your, again, telling us, what happened in Hamilton, and we are glad to know that, and we're gonna have to move forward.
But can I just make one last comment? And it's
I'm gonna give you 2 more minutes.
In any way.
I'm gonna give you 2 minutes, please.
Okay, it won't even take that. What the concern was this is being presented as half a pie and half a pie, and the people there want to see a unified front from both Hamilton and Wenham, so the people can see what the impact of the entire area is. It's not 752 units. It's not 356 units. It's close to 1,100 units. And they feel that if someone was to say, hey, there's a possibility of 1,100 units going in there, people aren't going to swallow it. That's a non-starter. But they resent seeing it being piecemealed out. And I think that is a big problem with
Can I ask you a very specific question? Did the planning board in Hamilton present any proposed districts?
Yes, they went over the exact same itinerary, not itinerary, but program that you presented. It was almost virtually identical.
No.
Locations.
What is the location that they're proposing?
Well, they mostly talked about the area. Most of the conversation was and ended up talking about the consolidated school system and where things are going to go there and whatever else. But there was no demarcation of where the zone was going to be, other than that in the circle.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your input.
What's the significance of that?
We're done.
Well,
I just said we wanted to know. That's all. Thank you for that.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so what is we need to talk about process moving forward on this, and are we basically going to devote a meeting in July to trying to get a little bit more detail down on paper on this?
I think, it can't be, it's gotta be separate from a normal meeting.
That's what I'm saying. It's got to be a meeting in July. I can't make the second week in July, so, but we should probably think about setting a separate meeting for that and really making it a work session.
Yeah, because Margaret had put in the notes that the public hearing on 3A should be later in July or early August.
Right.
yeah, that's gonna be the zoning, right?
That's after we've done a work session and figured out what we want in there and
We
put something forward.
So I think if I may, I think we gotta have a meeting sooner rather than later.
Yep.
I think it doesn't have to be on a Thursday night, but whenever we can schedule it. I think it shouldn't be during July 4th week because people are gonna be away. I think we need to have whoever's gonna show up is gonna show up. But I do think, and we may not, so the one thing that's abundantly clear to me is people want to understand the consequences. There's no way to move forward on this. we can move forward, but we can't reach a resolution without that. And the problem is, I don't think town council can answer that for us better than they can answer for anyone else. And so if that's the case, then we kind of have to get it as far as we can. Maybe that's something we need to think about. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that's not something we can necessarily do. We need to get advice on that from town council or Margaret or somebody, and that's gonna take a little time. But that's, to me, like one of the biggest issues that we need to hash out.
So when you say consequence, do you mean consequences for the town? Is that what you mean? Okay. So in terms
I
of
imagine there'll be personal consequences for me one way or the other, based on last week, but.
So in terms of our process, though, we need, I mean, I think we've identified
We need a
the
work
districts that
session.
we're gonna identify, right? But maybe that gets changed, as somebody mentioned,
Yeah,
identifying, was it Maple Woods, something like that? That,
Yeah,
is that what it's called?
yeah.
The new
Harbor
development?
Light development?
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know if that has an effect, if we did that, if we added that, does that reduce the footprint
I
in
don't know that
Boulder?
we can, because isn't that age and income?
It is age and income.
We
So
could
you can't do
overlay
that.
You could
There's
put an
not a lot
overlay
of-
over the
units
overlay.
aren't allowed to be age and
No,
income.
no, it's just the zoning of
There's
the
not a lot of land around
the
there.
lot, it's not. Anyway, that,
Well,
somebody
no, I
presented
get
that
what
as
you're
the,
saying.
As an idea.
somebody, I mean, if that's a possibility, but practically, does that really reduce what we would do at Boulder? Probably not. I
And it
mean,
doesn't reduce what we have to do within the half mile of the. state.
no, it doesn't change the half mile radius.
The only thing
but-
that changes the half mile radius, consider what it would look like if we were in fact an adjacent small community.
Yeah, but then we don't have to, we could put it anywhere.
Right.
I believe, okay. So anyway, in
So
terms of
also a
our,
smaller number of units.
right,
And
and
we're just considering about 130-ish units for right contiguous with the train station.
no,
If
it's
that,
70.
less than
70,
that,
okay,
it's
so
70
we're
something.
talking about 70
It's just
potential
73.
residences
Like
in that
3
circle
of those.
that goes around Hamilton and Wenham.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
just want to be clear in case anybody's listening to
Right.
what those numbers really are.
So I may have talked myself out of what I just said. I mean, I heard a lot about whether or not it's good for our town, but I was incredibly seduced by the point that Dan and Ann made consistently, which is like, we're not gonna not take the next step forward, like, then it goes to the select board for a warrant hearing.
Right.
Then it goes to the town for a,
It's a process point.
yeah, like, I honestly don't think I'd feel comfortable making it stop at our board.
Correct, I don't either,
No,
but
I
people
know,
have to
that
speak on
makes
this.
So if that's the case, like, I didn't hear much at all at the forum. That
Other
would,
than don't
other
do
than
it.
don't do it. I didn't
Right.
hear tweaks. I didn't hear,
No, and I think we made pretty clear that it's not gonna stop with our board. It's
No.
not up to this
It's up to the
board.
town,
Correct.
really, eventually.
So, but I think in the process, Dave, what we have to do is, we've gotta finalize what we're gonna present. We've gotta finalize the proposed zoning, right? And then I think we have to make a recommendation to the select board.
we
Isn't that
do
how
whatever it is to do the zone,
Yeah,
right?
we have to just,
But there's a lot of.
No,
public
no, no.
legal language,
you have to do a
right?
public hearing.
No, I know that, And what I'm saying, the product that we would present to the select board, which is gonna be the warrant article. Right?
And the zoning. of
And the zoning,
district.
yes, the package,
Right,
but as part of that, we need to make a recommendation to the select board. Like we do with every other warrant article, right?
right. Well,
Correct,
presumably
yes.
if we agreed to the overlay, we're promoting, putting it forward to town meeting.
No, I know that, but isn't there in every warrant article,
The
the
planning
board
votes
suggests
0, 0,
that
0.
we,
Yes,
you know,
Do expert,
adopt or not adopt?
yes, correct.
right?
Doesn't that come later
Yeah.
though, after the,
That comes.
I don't know when
It
that
comes at the
comes.
warrant, before the warrant is printed
Oh, yes.
for the meeting.
But-
Generally, it can be, your opinion can be given at the town meeting, but they generally like to have it before.
that is actually an interesting, not a not trivial point, that I would vote to push it forward, but I might not, I don't know, vote to recommend it.
Correct.
Right.
Right,
But I would say, here it is, town, you can decide if you want.
So before our meeting, I'm trying to backtrack from that
Yeah.
meeting. Before our next, our work session.
Right.
Can we get, as Dan was maybe suggesting earlier, a recommendation from council and all the language around, we picked the lots, right? We picked the two locations. We're comfortable with that. Now do they have to write all the zoning this mile here and this 3 acres over here? And all, can we get all that done before we meet as a board to go through the rest of it?
That's already happening.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. Good.
I'm not aware.
Yeah.
that's good, that's
Yeah.
what we need to talk about. So that's happening.
At least
That's going
we're
on.
told that that's happening,
Okay,
right?
so that's good. So what we need to do then is decide, okay, how are we restricting these? Are they gonna have a height restriction? Are they gonna have a setback restriction? Are they gonna have a, you know, multi-use provision, right? So you can do commercial and or offices in the building. What about parking? Do we need that much parking? Do we not need that much parking? That's an MBTA communities thing, and if it's in downtown, you don't need that much parking, you know, that kind of thing. That is the sort of thing that I was thinking we would focus in on in a work session, and then get staff going on drafting something up that reflects that.
Before a public hearing, is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, we have to write it before it goes to the public.
Yes, yeah,
Right,
that makes
so-
sense.
The question is, when
When?
will we have a work session? Because I know I'm out the last week in June, I'm out of the country. And then July 3rd to July 13th, I'm out of the state,
You don't,
so.
you don't have to give your travel.
No, I know that.
itinerary
I'm
on
just-
Zoom,
I'm just
But why don't we
saying,
just pick a
you know,
date
how
in
we gonna-
July?
Like the
It
20
sounds like our regular meeting is probably not gonna work.
No,
I mean, why don't we just reschedule our July meeting for a different date?
is there anything else that's coming up on that July meeting that we need to be aware of?
The continuance of
When
what times, but they can just continue that to our next meeting.
Because I mean, if it was July, what, 18th?
yeah, that's good.
It's good for this
That-
conference room.
Is that
Works for me.
too late to get it all together to have a public hearing in August?
Well, when's the town meeting? You know, is it
That's
October?
scheduled yet.
November, the last I heard, I was on a call. Peter may remember this,
November
November 20th.
Oh,
21st.
okay, so that gives us a little bit of
The
room.
weekend before
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And the fallback date is the Sunday or something. So you can't do it on a Saturday, it'll be this next, that next day.
When was it was out for the town meeting?
Yes,
When was it?
November 20th?
and the rollover date's the 21st.
Is that just?
And because we're expecting high turnout,
Hmm.
we got a hold on Duker and,
Gordon College. Gordon College.
Gordon College athletic facility.
Oh,
What about, we don't want an outdoor meeting on November 20th?
November 20th.
Remember the October?
Hey, with climate change, it might be comfortable.
It was interesting going through the master plan, very early on, a picture of a meeting outside of town hall.
Mm.
Did you see that?
I didn't.
Meeting outside of town hall?
Yeah, just like.
Like a
right
COVID
over
meeting?
here. Yeah,
Oh,
there wasn't a COVID meeting.
It was just a meeting. Okay, so have we resolved this July 18th? Is that our next meeting? Or do you want to have a meeting between now and then? I just can't do it.
no, I don't.
Update on progress of subdivision rules and regulations
Wait.
rewrite.
Wait, sorry, just so
Oh, we
we're,
left,
well, just so we're abundantly clear, on July 18th, what are we expecting to have? Essentially Margaret to deliver to us?
I
I think in advance, we should have the draft zoning.
Is that?
right,
possible?
with
Yeah.
spaces left for
us to
setback
go ahead?
and, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think she started it already. I've seen something that looks like a draft.
Okay,
So I don't think that's a huge lift. Kate, you wanna?
Yeah, I think it should be okay.
Okay,
Isn't Robin already working on that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
believe they're working on it together.
great.
Do we have other towns that have done this that we may look at what they've adopted for setbacks and stuff, like towns of similar size? I mean,
Rockport, for example.
but they're much more congested communities, so it's a
Right.
different beast.
Yeah.
It would be great to see what other people are, like, we can always rely on our history, but getting
But you
other
have
people's
the map.
opinion.
we have the map, so we can look for a town that.
Yeah, maybe Margaret could get a town or two that what they're doing for setbacks and heights.
Just adopted something, like,
About Topsfield.
Topsfield doesn't have a train station.
They're an adjacent community and they've zoned along Route 1.
Okay. So are we now all set with MBTA?
I think so.
Okay, let's move on. Progress of subdivision rules and regs rewrite. Do you have something to report on that?
Margaret, submitted the grant, so we will know by
$65,000.
65,000, yeah. She got a couple of great quotes, from some really great consultants, and we should know by the end of this month, we believe.
Would this grant have been encumbered if we were not on our pathway to an MBTA community resolution?
No.
Okay. I did want to know every time the town's asking for money.
No, it's a good question. Every time we should be asking.
Yes.
this. And we also don't know because the Attorney General,
Can change their mind.
Well, the whole thing
although
about them
argument
asking their
is the
first
statute doesn't
question,
allow that, but whatever.
the first question on every application for funding,
Is
are you in
in
compliance? that's spooky.
Yeah. And
Yes.
You might not agree with how that's going down, but that is how it's
I
going.
would just put the periodicity, that's all.
All right, the last thing is the reorganization of the board.
So we were gonna actually have this conversation before you got here.
Did you want to move me out? Go ahead, move me. I just got this nice plaque.
I don't know. I think you guys do a great job as chair and vice chair.
Unless Dan wants to be the chair of the slot.
No. Thank you.
Co-chair?
Unless you're saying you don't want to be the chair.
No, I mean, co-chair. No, it's good. It's good. I guess somebody has to nominate us and then we have to accept it.
Okay, I nominate Lynn Weeks as chair of the planning board, Wenham Planning Board.
Do you need a second?
I do.
Yes.
Yes. No, you just have to accept.
Oh, I just have to accept. We
You have
don't
to
need,
accept
it's
it.
not a motion.
Right.
Okay, any objections?
No objection, I just want to check in. I heard you say at the last meeting, you have like, you're joining the Supreme Court. And
Joining the Supreme
you're
Court.
traveling around the world and leaving the state. I'm being facetious.
Yes.
Are you good
No, I'm good.
for
I
what's
just can't-
ahead of us? Cause
I
it's
think
about
I
to
am.
get real.
Yeah, I know, it is. That's why I was being jokey over
that's
here
why you
about.
mentioned that. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
Would it be better to
Mr.
flip for a while?
MBTA communities, am I right?
Would it be better to flip for a while and, you know,
No, it's fine. It's fine. The chair, honestly, you guys are just, you run yourselves, so I don't really need to. I mean, I talked to Margaret, I talked to Kate. I've got the agenda. I ran the meeting,
I think.
but I'm happy to accept the chairmanship again.
Yeah,
Chairpersonship.
it's a good time for stability.
Yeah.
So
And
Okay.
I
Dan
vote,
was vice chair.
I'll accept the nomination for vice chair.
All right.
So then we need a vote. All right,
Unless there are other nominations.
unless there are other nominations from the floor.
I have no one else to nominate.
You have small choice.
I know.
do we have to vote on this?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
we
think
do.
we do, just
We do.
to be,
Yeah.
you need
Margaret
to
should
vote
call
for
a vote.
chair and vice chair. It sounds like two separate votes. I don't think we're asleep.
No, I don't think so.
So I guess I should just call the question for chair.
I vote in favor.
Second.
Woodland and I.
Anderson, I.
Well, yeah.
Do I get to vote for myself?
If you
Yes,
like.
we do.
You've already carried.
Okay. And now I'll take votes for the vice chair, Dan Pascarello,
Woodland and I.
Anderson, I.
Weeks aye.
Yes.
Vote for yourself.
We'll keep it consistent.
Okay. 4-0.
All right,
Thank you. We appreciate your votes of confidence.
And we did the minutes already.
And we did the minutes already, so now. we
Other,
need a
other
motion.
matters.
Other matters.
Other matter, oh, there is another matter, there is another matter, we got a letter from Pulte Homes. Saying they are meeting with the lieutenant governor about
Yes.
water,
They got full, huh?
well, they get a meeting.
You try to get
Question
a
is whether we get water or not.
We also got a letter from a butter.
A butter of which,
Zero. Is it zero
James,
large
right?
or zero walnut?
It's 8 walnut.
8 walnut, it abuts the 6.3 acres.
oh, the MBTA,
And
back to that.
MBTA,
We
yep.
should have probably brought that up during the MBTA.
There was a-
discussion.
There's a letter from a butter, I think upset that he had not received notice that
We didn't
we
have
were
a
going
public
to
hearing.
designate the zero large, but
Is
we
it
haven't,
Wenham resident? or an
yes, I
Hamilton
think it's a Wenham
It's a
resident,
Wenham resident.
but we haven't
resident?
officially
Haven't
designated
adopted
anything yet.
anything. We're just suggesting at this
Right.
point, so.
So it was a community forum. We didn't send out butter notices for that.
Oh, okay,
During the public hearing, before the public hearing, we will send out a butter notice.
Right,
got it, all right.
so how have we responded to this resident? so
I
far?
called him today and left him a message.
And you said to him,
Please call me. I got your message.
perfect, okay, great, and just explain that it was not a public hearing, although it felt like one.
Yes.
And that, a butter notices definitely will go out for the public hearing. And he's always welcome to come to any planning board meeting. We're happy to.
So I would just like to tell you that I went back to, Eric Tracy, and said somebody raised the issue of,
Oh, schools,
of the schools
uh-huh.
and withholding, you know,
Money for the school,
$48 million.
yeah,
That'll get your attention. So he said he's following up with council.
oh, that's great, that would be useful, I mean,
Peter,
this whole, when you make your application, please tell us if you're in compliance. Thing is scary for almost everything, so.
And I have some information on that front too. I'm told that the school funding entity for the state is very much separate from everything else and
Probably.
unlikely that there is
Impact.
going to be any effect, yes.
Well, that's good to know.
We can go to CPC if you want to hear that update. Unless you're not done with this.
No, I mean, I'm finished. I just wanted to let you know that Pulte is meeting with Lieutenant Governor about water.
one thing about Pulte though, I felt at the last meeting a little bit taken aback by that there was a meeting. That may be how it has to be, but let me just
Meeting
finish.
with who?
With you and Dan and Pulte and others,
Oh,
I feel like that's something that maybe that's the way it has to be, but that means 3 people on this board don't have the information that you
can
have.
I just say,
Let me just finish.
Yeah.
And I'm not implying that there was anything wrong that happened. But that would be the most consequential development that this town has had since industrialized shoe leather, as I like to say. So I really think I would encourage, if possible, and again,
want
maybe
the whole
it's,
board to come?
I would like a public meeting on it. I would like them to present. If they have something to say, if they want to hear from us, I think they should come before here, because I don't think meeting privately with certain members of this board is going to serve the community.
Can we explain what happened?
And I don't mean to put you on the
No,
spot,
I
I'm just
wanna-
presenting my.
As long as we're on the record and we're talking about it. I objected to the meeting and said I didn't want to do it. And I heard from everyone in town hall that it was just a listening session. I said, I'm not gonna say anything. I can't represent anybody on this. I'm just a citizen sitting here. So just so you know, and I said that in the meeting, I said, I am not here representing the planning board. I know you've invited me that way. I don't really, I'm not gonna respond to anything. I'm not gonna suggest anything. I'm just here to listen.
I asked questions.
Dan asked
I
questions.
took a different approach to this, which was these things play out both through public hearings and informally, and they can approach anybody they want in town. So if they were gonna do it, I think what I said to Ann was, why not take the opportunity to learn more about this? And I asked them some pointed questions that I wanted to know the answers to that I think are gonna be helpful for us going forward.
But I don't know the answers to those questions, and neither does the public, and I think that's the problem in my heart.
Well, no, that we did
convey all of that at our last planning board meeting after.
I'm not saying that you didn't report out on what happened, but
Yeah.
I don't know what they said. I know what you.
Okay,
shared
that's
with
fair.
me, what
Right,
they
that's
said.
fair. There were no minutes taken.
No
Yep.
minutes were taken.
If the whole board goes, it has to be a posted
No,
meeting.
they can come here to our meeting. And they
Get
can
on the
talk to
agenda.
us. If they
I see.
want a listening session in front of the planning board, they can
Yeah.
come in here and they can address us. I think if this were another developer and two members of the planning board met with the developer separately, that would not feel right. And I think this is even higher stake.
I also
So
lived through the Maple Woods discussion in the early phases.
Mm.
There were a lot of private meetings between affordable housing trust people and select board people that were not on the record, and it really changed or altered how that development could have happened. So I'm very sensitive to those back room meetings, not in the public view, because that's been a problem. So my concern is to keep them, invite them.
Ju-
All right,
Just
next
to
time I'm asked, I will say no.
Just to be clear,
I did say no.
it wasn't just the two of us.
It was select board people,
No, there was,
Pulte people.
Gordon was
College
here.
people,
Gordon was here,
it was-
Pulte was here.
yeah, it was a
town
full room.
staff Was here, it was
People.
people.
But we won't. I mean, and
Yes.
Steve Spoulos can do things on his own, he's town administrator, right?
Right.
So that's his job to do things. Like Gordon College is an independent organization. So my concern when we're dealing with privately run companies, we need to be as transparent and open in the public session as possible, because if not, we get in trouble with Maple Woods, and I'm afraid that could happen again.
Right.
That was the biggest development to date.
Right.
And
And I, as I said, I objected to the idea of the meeting. I told them I
Stick to your
wasn't gonna
guns.
say anything. I went, I listened.
stick to your guns. Yeah. They could have the meeting without us, that's fine. But then,
They could also approach you individually, just so you know.
and my comment will be,
Well, I know, but
we have a forum
But-
for that. If you'd like to be on the agenda, speak to the chair.
Right.
yeah.
And they did come and present to us.
I was here. Yeah.
I can't raise my hand for some reason. I just want to say something. I'm very interested in what Pulte Homes has to say. There should be a transparency amongst the community to see what they are. They do have a vested interest in this MBTA issue. They were the ones that we figured would be the one that would rear their head. So I think there's a lot of people in the community who would like to hear the conversations between Pulte and the town. And I think I'd like to be able to see some of the communication that you guys have been privy to between Wenham, Pulte, and possibly the state.
Yeah, all we got recently was this letter saying to us, or maybe it was an email, I've forgotten. Saying that they're gonna meet with the lieutenant governor about water. That's the only new news here.
Okay, I just think the people would like to hear progress as to what Pulte is doing, what they're up to, and what their intentions are, their true intentions. If they're talking about water, they're talking about infrastructure.
Mr. Celeste, there has been no formal application
They haven't made
to
an
the
application.
board or to the town. They
I
have-
understand, but if
And
there
then-
is a further, if there's further communication, both formal and informal, I think a lot of people would like to know about it,
I think this
especially
board
with
is agreeing-
Pulte Homes.
I think this board is agreeing that we will only entertain conversations with them in our meetings going forward. I think that's the sense of the board.
Okay.
And
We
I
were,
will say they did not show us any plan. What they talked about in that meeting was mostly, we don't have any water, we don't have any sewer. We think this is, that the town is gonna benefit to the tune of $10 million or
whatever
something.
it was, yeah.
And we were like nodding and, okay. But there's
Okay,
nothing.
that's fine. That's great. Like I said, I
No,
think there should
we
be
agree with you.
transparency with those folks. So,
I think all of us agree with you.
okay, great. Thank you.
I would like, take a motion,
He's got.
but Rick has something, and then it's 8:45, so.
I'm fast. I can talk very fast.
Excellent.
Professional, my job. I just want to give a readout on the CPC and what we're doing. We did get the approval, the select board has approved, and we are now looking for a candidate to fill the part-time, no more than 19 hours a week, and that will be just during the busy season, for a CPC assistant to work with
Right.
the CPC to work on and take that responsibility off of Joe Casamano's plate. And so we are interviewing, if you know anybody that has some experience in administrative work, not necessarily just in CPC work, we'd love to get their
Then their
resume.
evening meetings, right?
Yes, they're evening meetings and they'd be working during the day, here, they'll get us set up here. It was just posted on my request, it was posted on all the social media platforms this morning. So the
Right.
word's gonna get out. I wanted to make sure that you guys knew about it. And we are gonna meet in July as a CPC to reorganize, as we need to do annually, and start that discussion on, interviewing candidates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you ready?
Now I take a motion to.
Okay,
Meeting
I will-
until
I'm.
July 18th at 7 PM.
So motion.
Second.
Beat you.
Yeah, I can move it. You have
He's
to-
gotta move.
Oh, he's got to.
He started to sing, I moved.
Peter's
Go ahead.
slow here.
Finish.
I move that the planning board meeting of, on June 13th. In
Be adjourned until.
Turned until July 18th at 7 PM.
July 18th at 7 PM. And we're adjourning at 8:43 PM.
Take a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
We get
Thank
Peter
you.
and Leo together.
You're so